And now we're going to bring to the stage the wonderful Dr. Glory Van Scott and her lovely book. So this is such a treat today because this lady has had a most magnificent career, marvelous career, has danced with every great choreographer in this last 50 years, I guess. And it's a joy to have her here in the parlor talking about her new book entitled Glory, A Life Among Legends. So we're going to start with, you go home with, we're going to start with our backgrounds. Our backgrounds are very similar in a way. This is feedback on yours. It's okay. Our backgrounds are very similar because you come from a family of 6, and you're the youngest.
No, I'm in the middle.
Oh, you're the middle.
Middle Moffat is always the monster Moffat.
I was 6 and I was the youngest.
Yeah.
And, it's your home Chicago.
Yes, I was born there. And as I said to one of the ladies on June 1st, my mother said, oh, it took me like 2 days to be born. And I said, I laughed. She said, that's not funny. I said, oh, I was fooling around. What can I tell you? Food was good in there. It was nice and cozy.
Right.
Food was good.
Life for me was as a child, wonderful. I mean, I thought everybody played and did all the things that I did, and we went everywhere. The circus came to town when I was circus, and ice skating came to, whatever happened, theater, everything. My parents introduced us to all of that, because my father was a physician and my mother was a socialite in Chicago, so it was really knowing a lot of different things and involved in a lot of things. And one of the things I'll tell you about my personality is when I was about 10, my mother having her club meetings, they were having a discussion, and they mentioned one of the ladies who was not present at the club meeting, and they said she's an old gray mare. So what did I do? I go out of the house, I get a group of about 8 little girls together, and I teach them to sing the old gray mare, she ain't what she is. And I'm directing them like this. Now we march down to the house of this lady, just a big plate glass window, and I stand them out there and we start to sing. And so somebody said, the lady said, oh, I want to strangle that kid. And whoever the person was in there said, you better not, that's Dora's kid. Nobody touches Dora's kid.
Yeah, I remember you said that the book is really quite fascinating. I just thought it was really a fascinating read. But you said that your mother would always send your kids out to the backyard to play. And you said, I didn't want to go in the backyard because all of my stuff was in the house.
That's right.
I love that line.
Yeah, but it was our problem.
The fun stuff is in the house.
No, my mother used to say, this is my house, meaning her house. You lived in there, you were lucky to live in there as a kid. But it was her house. So when she got tired of all 6 of us bouncing up against the walls, making a whole lot of noise, she'd go like this. That means it's time to march out, go to the backyard, sit in our backyard, and wait until she says you can come back in.
And that
so
was until your grandmother came and took you to the park.
I got to tell you. So, okay, that's what we had to do. So we'd march out, we'd take the Big Ben clock, so we could watch the time. Is it 10 minutes yet? You think she'll let us back in? I don't know. But by the time we got into the backyard, we were quiet and docile and very nice. But in the house, we were just doing everything. So that was her thing. And then one day, my grandmother, who used to go out to visit friends or something, doubled back and didn't go to visit a friend and wondered where her grandchildren were. And my mother said, last time I saw them out there, and she goes out there, they were in the backyard. You can't have my grandkids. So from then on, my grandmother on Sundays would get a hold of us at a certain point and make sure we were, taken, so we could have some fun out in the park or whatever and not have a problem. But we were a handful. I mean, I was the nicest.
Where did the see, we all have a purpose, and many people go through life and they don't, I think, ever discover their purpose. I've known math since I was a child. This is what I want to do all my life. And from your conviction to the dance world, this must have been your purpose as a child. When did you develop that? Where did that seed come from?
When I was like 4 years old or 5, when guests would come to the house, I would jump up and start banging on the piano, making up songs, or at least composing little songs. And we always did shows. I'd write some, my brother would sing, my sister would do this. We were doing all kinds of things, finding things for costumes, and having a wonderful time. And we were also introduced to film a great deal. My father loved film, and he was a lover of Charlie Chaplin. So he bought all the Charlie Chaplin films. They would put a sheet up in the dining room across, and we'd sit and invite some friends up, and we'd watch Charlie Chaplin films over and over and over. So that I grew to love Charlie Chaplin like he's the prince, the king, or whatever. But we were introduced to a lot of things, and somehow, to this day, I can't remember, nor can my sister, where the costumes came from. There was a big a box that went from the floor up to here, and it had costumes in it. Now, my folks were not into anything, but we had costumes, so we'd take them out. I'd write a little scenario about a show, and then we'd sing, dance, and act, and,
Nice.
and do things. But the important thing is that my brother Jerry, he became a child movie star from that. He was a singer, and he was the oldest. He went to Hollywood, and he did this film, Thriller Romance, with Esther Williams and Van Johnson. And so, of course, when he showed up, Louis B. Mayer thought it was going to be a white kid, Jerry, who's Jerry. And it wasn't, so he said, I don't know, he can sing, I want to put him in it anyway. So he played the young bellhop, and if you see that film with Esther Williams and Van Johnson, it's, Louis B. Mayer, and you will see him, he was a protege of Lawrence Melchior, and he sings two solos, Please Don't Say No and Because. So, here, lovely voice, he composed and everything else. So, when he came back from Hollywood, he didn't like Hollywood that much. He didn't want to continue with it, but he was incredible. He wrote music. So people, I remember Tiger Haynes asking me one time when I did my musical Miss Truth, and we were down at the Negro Ensemble Company, my God, are there any more in the house like you? I said, oh yeah, yeah. And then, then I told him, and I said, my brother, I used to look at him and follow him around the house. He would sing opera. I'd follow around singing what he was singing. So it was very wonderful. I had a wonderful childhood. I can't complain about it.
You mentioned Charlie Chaplin. He wrote one of the most famous songs, as you know, Smile. Smile, though your heart is aching. And many people just knew him as an actor, but he was a great songwriter. That was one of the great songs in the musical.
He wrote scenes too. He was incredible.
Yes, right. So now, when you, at 4 years old, you knew you wanted to do what you're doing. You knew it. How did you study? Did you go to school?
Yeah. What happened is that there was a cultural arts center in my town. It was called Abraham Lincoln Center, and it had the architecture by Frank Lloyd Wright, a very fine architect. They had a magnificent library on the first floor, and all the other floors were just beautiful with the architecture of Frank Lloyd Wright. And that's where I studied dance, ballet, acrobatics, modern dance, drama, creative writing, studied music, and absolutely thought I was going to play violin until I picked up a real violin and went, I said, okay, that's the end of that. That's not mine. But, and I still love it as the main thing, but when I went, I don't know why I thought that I picked up the violin and started, because things were easy for me as a kid. I wanted to dance, so I started dancing. I had the body for the dancer. If I wanted to do this, I could do it. All of a sudden, I pick up this instrument, and it's not going along with me at all. I'm going and sawing away. You know what it's sounding like when you're sawing away. So I put that down and said, this won't do. And that was the end of it. But no, I knew from childhood, and I started at that cultural arts center. I knew then. And I was also aggressive as a kid in this way. I was with the little 8 to 10-year-olds in dance class. I didn't like that, because I saw the 12 to 16 or whatever, they were dancing more intricate ballets. They were doing things which were more interesting to me. And I used to hide and watch them rehearse and watch them take class. So finally the teacher said to me, you'll have to have your folks send a note. And if they say you can work with the older kids, then we'll allow you to do it. Which, of course, they did. And that was it. I left that baby stuff past. I was never into the baby stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
That wouldn't do. I wanted, if I saw a big person doing something, I would study it. Even what was part of my personality was playing table tennis. I became the junior champion in Chicago with table tennis, but before I became it, there was another girl, every time we would practice, I beat her today, she'd beat me the next day. And I said, and I would think it out, this is not working. So what am I going to do? And I looked at Louise, who was the senior champ. I said, will you play with me? She said, sure, kid, you know. Beat my socks off, then finally one time I won a game. And beat my socks, then finally I won another game. And I knew what to do to move myself ahead.
Yeah.
I was never afraid to ask you, I don't know how to do this, will you help me? Da-da-da-da-da. And I was a willing learner. That's what made the difference. I wanted to put the time in to get to
like
where
a
I wanted to go.
sponge, you absorb it. Yeah.
Took it in. And so I wound up being junior champ as a result of that, because I could figure out what I needed to do. And I was never afraid to ask for help. That's the other part of that.
Do you know what production you did in high school or college?
Oh, with me, one of the most important productions I did when I was in high school, I was a freshman, and what happened in the drama class, you go, and they did not have freshmen who would have the lead in anything. You had to wait till you maybe a junior. But I didn't know that. I came in, and the first thing I read was a script, and it was a painting for the Duchess. And of course, I looked at the Duchess role. That's the role for me. I'm not playing the clown.
If you're gonna do it, right?
So I read for the Duchess, and there was a girl named Alberta who was a junior who always had all the leads, I'm told. I didn't know her from anything else. I'm a freshman. But what happened is that the drama teacher said she had had a meeting with people and other teachers and say, I'm sorry, Glory's better with this. Even though she's a freshman, she's better with this, and we cannot deny her this role and let Alberta do it, because she doesn't do it in the way that reading for it the way Glory. And I wound up getting the role and playing it and loving it. But the thing about that role that I will always remember my whole life, this is a story about a duchess who gives a painter money to pay gold to paint a picture of the Virgin Mary on canvas. So he's supposed to do that. But instead of doing that, he takes the money and has a party for everybody, which is what I would do. Let's have a party, and everybody have a good time. Now the Duchess is coming, which is me, and she wants to see the painting of the Duchess, painting of the Virgin Mary. And so she comes in, and Basil's the guy. He's standing there, they're having a party, and so they freeze when she walks in. And I'm supposed to see, Basil, I see that you have sown and you are acting a fool with my gold. I see that gossip spoke the truth. And everybody goes, no, hold your tongues before I have them slit. What was I, 12, 13 hours? Slitting tongues already. And I was doing things like that. I'd have their heads cut off. I loved it. I had an ice blue gown that fit like that, and I'm ready for this. Now, the problem was, at one point when I tell him he has a cover over the picture, and when that's pulled off, of course there will be nothing on the canvas because I haven't painted. He didn't paint anything. He spent the money, right? So I tell him to pull the cover off. Now when he pulls the cover off, it's supposed to be, instead of being nothing, suddenly the Virgin Mary's on there, and it's a miracle, right? However, I didn't want to practice that part. The drama teacher gives it, Glory, that's the way of the road. I said, I don't care. I don't want to relent. I don't want to repent. I was doing one of those things. Why does she got to repent? She's strong, and then now she's got to go. I don't want to do that, right? I was doing this number. So finally, the teacher said to me, well, Glory, and I finally practiced it, but I wasn't keen on it. And so finally the day came to perform. And when I performed it, people started to cry. Because I really went into being where I was as an actress, which I was going to grow into, and I did repent, and it was very moving. But I'll never forget that part, because now, when even my own students, I explain to them when they say, well, I've got to be nice now. I said, yes. You are a monster a moment ago, but now you've got to grow into being nice. And there's a pattern of how you get there, and you've got to do that. So, and it's all part of your learning as an actress, or an actor, whatever. And so that was what I remember. So I always remember that, and I always tell my students about me doing that.
I want to read something, if I may. This is so special. It's a review. I was going to read this review. She has many, of course, but this one just jumped off the pages at me. And when I read it, in fact, when I read it the other day, it reminded me, Fifi, you get a kick out of this. Fifi is the first lady of the Parlor. Hello,
Yes.
darling.
Hey, Fifi. First lady of the Parlor.
I just want to read this if I could. Oh, shucks, it was priceless.
Clive Barnes?
No, here it is.
Ward Paris?
Yeah, this one. And this, it reminded me of something that the great Addison DeWitt would say to Eve Harrington. No, really, when I read it, it reminded me of my favorite film was all about Eve. And Addison DeWitt played the critic. But it says, even if virtue triumphs on the stage, it is certainly the devilish glory the audience will remember when they leave the theater. You simply must see and hear her propose to the hero. Come to the countryside with me. Here's the real star who by herself is worth the effort of coming to the theater. That's magnificent. And she has several, but that was priceless. So now I think it was, pictures please, pictures. I think it was late early 50s when you moved to New York. And you, was that when you worked with James Earl Jones in
No,
White Oak?
James Earl Jones of the Great White Hope was much later.
Late, okay. What was your first production?
House of Flowers.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
House of Flowers.
House
Yes,
of Flowers is
That's
right.
right.
And that had Arthur Mitchell.
That was
it
Truman
had-
Capote, correct?
Yes. And it had Arthur Mitchell, and it had Louis Johnson,
Yes.
and it had Jeffrey Holder and Carmen de Lavallade, and Pearl Reynolds. It had all these incredible people in it. And somebody asked me one day, what did they feed you guys? What kind of water did you drink? I said, the same water you drank. It's just that we happen to be a cluster of us that happened to come and be together and all worked and achieved and believed in work. Wasn't like playing around. You were serious about what you were doing, and so therefore you studied, you worked, you moved ahead. You weren't playing. There was no playing. You know, we respected each other, and we all worked very hard.
I saw, I have so much. I mean, your history is a reservoir of history. So we're going to just go through. But I saw a photograph of Jacqueline Kennedy at one of your performances. And that was shortly, I think that was in mid-60s, 68 maybe.
That was when I was doing the Great White Hope.
Great, okay. Because that's why I came to, because Jackie Kennedy lived right here on 85th Street and Fifth Avenue. So I've been here 45 years. So I got to watch John and Caroline grow up. And I had an infatuation with her. So when I saw her in the book, I said, oh, well, that's, and your picture was, well, she was performing in the Great White Hope. What was it like to work with James Earl Jones?
Jimmy is great. You know, he had a great time. He's a big guy. And so, and he's also a very gentle guy. And if you were doing something besides when I was doing the Great White Hope, I was also
We're going to do people in A flat. The Miss Streisand, one of the great voices. People who need people are the luckiest people in the world. We're children needing other children, and yet letting our grown-up pride hide all the need inside, acting more like children than children. Lovers are very special people. They're the luckiest people in the world. With one person person who needs people. People who need people are the luckiest people in the world. People who need people are the luckiest people in the world. We're children needing other children, and yet letting our grown-up pride hide all the need inside, acting more like children than children. Lovers are very special people. They're the luckiest people in the world. With one person, one very special person, a feeling deep in my soul says you were half, now you hold. No more hunger and thirst, but thirst. Be a person who needs people. People who need that one. But it's such a joy to work with Emme Kemp. One of the finest pianists in the business.
Yeah.
This is truly one of the finest pianists in the business.
Absolutely.
And it's a joy.